Jake Morrison walked through the long hallway of the council building. His black boots made soft sounds on the smooth floor. The walls were made of some kind of crystal that changed colors as he passed. He had been to many alien worlds, but this place still made him feel small. Behind him, 3 other humans followed. Amy Rodriguez was a naval officer with short brown hair and sharp eyes. She kept looking around like she expected trouble. Lisa Carter was a scientist who studied alien life forms. She carried a small device that recorded everything they saw. The last person was Tom Bradley, a trade expert who knew more about alien economics than anyone else on Earth. They had been called to this meeting with only 2 days' notice. The message was short and cold. It said the humans must come to answer for their crimes against galactic law. Jake had read it 10 times, but he still did not understand what crimes they meant. The hallway opened into a huge round room. The ceiling was so high that Jake could barely see the top. Around the walls, hundreds of alien beings sat in curved seats that rose up like steps. Some aliens were tall and thin like trees. Others were short and round like balls. A few looked almost human, but their skin was strange colors like blue or green dot. In the center of the room was a platform made of black stone. 5 chairs sat on it, each one designed for a different type of alien body. The largest chair held a creature that looked like a giant spider with too many eyes. Her name was Zethkara, and she was the council speaker. Jake had met her before, during trade talks. She always acted like humans were children who needed to be watched. Her voice came through a small machine that changed her alien sounds into human words. "Humans of Earth," she said, and her voice filled the whole room. "You have been brought here to face judgment." Jake stepped forward. His heart was beating fast, but he kept his face calm. "We came because you asked us to come. But we do not know what we are being judged for." Zethkara's many eyes moved to look at him. "You do not know? How convenient. Perhaps this will help you remember." The air above the platform began to glow. Pictures appeared, floating in the empty space. They showed human ships, human colonies, and human soldiers. Each picture had red writing that said illegal or violation. "These are your crimes," said another alien. This one looked like a large lizard with scales that shined like metal. "You humans have spread beyond the space we gave you. You have built armies when we said you could have only small defense forces. You have taken resources from worlds that do not belong to you." Amy Rodriguez made a small angry sound. Jake put his hand on her arm to keep her quiet. He looked at the pictures again. Every one showed something that humans had done to protect themselves or to find new homes. "We have followed all the treaties," Jake said. "We have only settled on worlds that had no other life. We have only defended ourselves when attacked. We have taken nothing that was not freely given." A sound like laughter came from the alien seats, but it was not a happy sound. It was the sound predators make when they corner their prey. "Treaties," said Zethkara. "You speak of treaties as if you are equals. You are not equals. You are a young species that does not understand its place. The council decides what is legal and what is not. The council decides where you may live and where you may not. The council decides how strong your defenses may be. We are not your slaves," Amy said before Jake could stop her. Her voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. The room became very quiet. Even the aliens seemed surprised by her words. Zethkara's eyes focused on Amy like weapons pointing at a target. "Slaves?" Zethkara repeated. "No, you are not slaves. Slaves have value. You are pests who have grown too bold. You multiply too fast. You ask too many questions. You give other species ideas about freedom that upset the natural order." "Lisa." Carter stepped forward. She had been studying alien behavior for years. She could see that this was not really about laws or treaties. This was about fear. The council was afraid of humans, and fear made them dangerous. "What do you want from us?" she asked. CS single quotes for her rose from her chair. She was even bigger than Jake had remembered. Her long legs clicked on the stone floor as she moved. "We want you to remember your place," she said. We want you to stop spreading your poison ideas to other species. We want you to be grateful for what you have been given instead of always wanting more. And if we refuse? Jake asked. The room filled with alien voices. Some made clicking sounds, others roared or hissed. A few made electronic beeping noises, but they all sounded angry. Then you will learn why the Council has kept peace in this galaxy for 10,000 years, Sethkara said. You will learn what happens to species that forget their place. Jake looked at his three companions. He could see the same thought in all their eyes. This was not really a trial. This was a trap. The Council had already decided what they wanted to do. They just wanted to make it look legal. We need time to discuss this with our government, Jake said. Time? Sethkara laughed, and the sound made Jake's skin crawl. Very well, you have 48 hours. But understand this, Ambassador Morrison, this is not a negotiation. This is a final warning. You will comply with our demands, or you will face the consequences. The aliens began to leave their seats. The meeting was over. Jake and his team were escorted back to their rooms in the diplomatic building. None of them spoke until they were alone. They're going to attack us no matter what we say, Amy said. I know, Jake replied. The question is, what are we going to do about it? The next morning, Jake Morrison woke up to the sound of his door chiming. Amy Rodriguez stood outside with a worried look on her face. She held a small device that glowed with urgent messages. Jake, you need to see this, she said. Council ships are moving toward human space. They're not waiting for our answer. Jake rubbed his eyes and took the device. The screen showed dots moving across a map of the galaxy. Red dots were council ships, blue dots were human colonies. The red dots were getting closer to the blue ones. How many ships? Jake asked. At least 300, Amy said, maybe more. They're coming from all directions. Jake felt cold inside. This was worse than he had thought. The council was not just threatening them. They were already preparing to attack. An hour later, all 4 humans sat in the council chamber again. This time, even more aliens had come to watch. The curved seats were packed with creatures from across the galaxy. Some looked excited. Others seemed nervous. Sethkara sat in her chair like a queen on a throne. Her many eyes watched the humans. With satisfaction, she knew they had seen the ships moving. Have you considered our offer? She asked. But her voice made it clear that it was not really an offer. Jake stood up straight. We need to know exactly what you want from us. Very well, Sethkara said. Since you need everything explained like children, I will be very clear. The air above the platform began to glow again. This time it showed a list of demands written in human language. The words were large enough for everyone to read. First, Sethkara said, all human colonies beyond your original 12 systems must be abandoned. Every human must return to those worlds within 90 days. Lisa Carter made a small sound of shock. That's impossible. We have 40 billion people living on those worlds. Some of them were born there. It's their home. Home is what we say. It is, replied another alien. This one looked like a slug with arms. You were given 12 systems. That should be enough for any species. Second, Sethkara continued, your military forces must be reduced to system defense only. No more warships. No more weapons that can travel between stars. No more soldiers who can fight on other worlds. Amy Rodriguez stepped forward. You're asking us to be defenseless. What happens when pirates attack our trade ships? What happens when hostile aliens invade our worlds? The Council will protect you, Sethkara said. If you deserve protection? The way she said those last words made Jake's stomach turn. It was clear that the Council would only protect humans who obeyed perfectly. Third, Sethkara said, all. Human government must be approved by the Council. Your leaders must be chosen by us. Your laws must be written by us. Your trade agreements must be signed by us. Tom Bradley, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke. You're talking about the complete conquest of humanity. You want to control everything we do? We prefer the word guidance, said the lizard-like alien. Humans have proven they cannot be trusted to make good decisions. You need our wisdom to keep you from destroying yourselves and others. Jake looked around the chamber. He saw hundreds of alien faces watching him. Most of them seemed to agree with the Council's demands, but a few looked uncomfortable. Some of the smaller, weaker species seemed to recognize their own situation in humanity's problem. These are not requests, Jake said. These are the demands of conquerors. Call them what you wish, Sethkara said, but you will obey them, or face the alternative. What alternative? Amy asked, though she already knew. The chamber's lights dimmed. New images appeared in the air. They showed Council warships attacking human colonies. They showed human cities burning. They showed human civilians being loaded onto transport ships like cattle. If you refuse to obey, Sethkara said, humanity will be declared a rogue species. Your worlds will be quarantined. Your ships will be destroyed. Your people will be relocated to supervised colonies where they can be properly controlled. You're talking about genocide, Lisa said. We are talking about peace, Sethkara replied. The galaxy has been peaceful for 10,000 years because species like yours have been kept in their proper place. You threaten that peace with your ideas about freedom and equality. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. But he also felt something else. He felt proud. Proud that humans had ideas that scared these powerful aliens. Proud that his species could not be easily controlled? You said we have 48 hours, Jake said. We need to contact our government. Contact them, Sethkara said. But remember, Ambassador Morrison, the ships are already moving. Whether you agree or disagree, the outcome will be the same. The only question is whether your people die fighting or die quietly. An alien that looked like a walking tree raised one of its branch-like arms. Council Speaker, perhaps we should consider a less extreme solution? The humans have been useful. Trading partners. Sethkara's eyes turned to focus on the tree alien. The Kepler delegate forgets his place. This decision has been made by the Council's ruling members. Lesser species do not have a voice in this matter. Jake saw the tree alien's leaves rustle with what might have been anger or fear. Even the Council's own members were not really free. We will give you our answer tomorrow, Jake said. See that you do, Sethkara replied. And remember, we are offering you a chance to live. Many species have not been given even that much. As the humans were escorted back to their rooms, Jake thought about what they had just heard. The Council was not just threatening humanity. They were threatening the idea that intelligent beings could be free. He looked at his three companions. They were scared, but they were also angry. That was good. Fear alone would make them weak. But fear mixed with anger could make them strong. What do we tell Earth? Amy asked. Jake thought for a moment. We tell them the truth. We tell them that we have been given a choice between slavery and death. And what do you think they'll choose? Lisa asked. Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. I think they'll choose what humans have always chosen when bullies try to control them. They'll choose to fight. Jake Morrison stood in the communication room of the diplomatic building. The walls were covered with screens showing the faces of Earth's leaders. President Helen Brooks sat at the main table in the White House. Around her, the most important people in human government listened to Jake's report. So they want us to give up everything, President Brooks said after Jake finished explaining. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed anger. They want us to abandon our homes, destroy our defenses, and become their slaves. That's what it comes down to, yes, Jake said. They're calling it guidance and protection, but it's complete control over humanity. Admiral Paul Harrison appeared on another screen. He was the commander of Earth's Space Navy. His gray hair and lined face showed the stress of the last few days. What about their fleet movements? He asked. Are they bluffing? Amy Rodriguez stepped forward. No, sir. We've confirmed at least 400 ships moving toward human space. They have us outnumbered 5-1. Numbers aren't everything, said another voice. Governor Ryan Mitchell represented the outer colonies. His face was hard with determination. My people didn't travel 50 light years from Earth to bow down to alien masters. President Brooks looked at each face on the screens. These were the leaders of 97 human worlds. Some were farmers. Others were miners or traders or scientists. But they all had one thing in common. They had left Earth to build something. Better, I want to hear from everyone, President Brooks said. This decision affects every human alive. What do you think we should do? Governor Sarah Kim from New Tokyo spoke first. Madam President, we've seen what happens to species that submit to the Council. They become nothing. They lose their culture, their freedom, their spirit. I'd rather die as a human than live as a pet. The Council has superior technology, said Dr. Robert Chun from the research station at Alpha Centauri. But they've been peaceful for so long that they've forgotten how to really fight. We've been dealing with pirates and hostile aliens for decades. We know how to fight. One by one, the colony leaders spoke. Some were afraid. All of them were angry, but none of them wanted to surrender. Admiral Harrison pulled up a star map on his screen. If we're going to fight, we need to be smart about it. They expect us to defend our worlds and wait for them to attack. But humans don't fight that way. What are you suggesting? President Brooks asked. Hit them first, Harrison said. Hit them hard. Show them that we're not the helpless species they think we are. Lisa Carter, who had been quiet during the discussion, finally spoke. There's something else to consider. The Council rules through fear. If we show other species that the Council can be defeated, some of them might join us. Or they might help the Council destroy us, Tom Bradley pointed out. Maybe, Lisa said. But I've studied the psychological profiles of the Council species. They respect strength. If we fight well, even our enemies will respect us. President Brooks was quiet for a long moment. Everyone waited for her to speak. Finally, she looked directly at Jake through the screen. Ambassador Morrison, I want you to understand something. If we refuse their demands, many humans will die, maybe all of us. Are you prepared for that responsibility? Jake thought about his own children back on Earth. He thought about the billions of humans living peaceful lives on colonies across the galaxy. Then he thought about what those lives would be like under Council rule. Madam President, he said, my grandfather fought in World War III. Before he died, he told me something. He said that some things are more important than life. Freedom is one of those things. I agree, President Brooks said. But I won't make this decision alone. I'm calling for a vote. All in favor of rejecting the Council's demands? One by one, the colony leaders voted. The final count was unanimous. Every human world chose to fight rather than surrender. Then it's decided, President Brooks said. Ambassador Morrison, you will return to the Council tomorrow and give them our answer. Admiral Harrison, begin moving our fleets into position. Everyone else, prepare your people for war. The screens went dark. Jake found himself alone with his 3 companions. They all looked shaken by what they had just witnessed. Do you think we can win? Amy asked. Jake was quiet for a moment. I don't know, but I know we're doing the right thing. The next day, Jake walked back into the Council chamber. This time, even more aliens had come to watch. Word had spread across the galaxy that the humans were about to make their choice. Zethkara sat in her chair like a judge waiting to pass sentence. Her many eyes watched Jake with satisfaction. She was sure she knew what he would say. Ambassador Morrison, she said, have you brought us the submission of your species? Jake walked to the center of the chamber. He looked up at the hundreds of alien faces watching him. Some looked eager, others seemed nervous. A few appeared almost hopeful. Honored Council, Jake said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. I have consulted with my government. I have spoken with the leaders of every human world. I have received their unanimous answer to your demands. He paused, letting the silence build. Even the aliens seemed to hold their breath. The answer is no, Jake said simply. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not destroy our defenses. We will not surrender our freedom. We are humans, and we will remain free. The chamber erupted in sound. Some aliens roared in anger. Others made clicking or beeping sounds of surprise. A few remained silent, but their body language showed shock. Zethkara rose from her chair. all her eyes focused on Jake like weapons. You. Refuse? She hissed. You choose death over wisdom? Jake smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Council Speaker, there's something you need to understand about humans. We have fought tyrants before. We have died for freedom before. We are not afraid of you. Then you have doomed your species, Sethkara said. The Council fleet will begin the cleansing of human space immediately. We'll be ready, Jake said, as alarms began to sound throughout the Council building. Jake felt strangely calm. The choice was made. Now they would see what humans were truly made of. Captain Ben Walsh stood on the bridge of his ship, the Yorktown. Through the main window, he could see the peaceful farms of New Kansas stretching to the horizon. The wheat fields were golden in the morning sun. Children were playing in the streets of the small towns below. In a few hours, this peace would be shattered. Captain, said Lieutenant Mary Johnson from her position at the sensor station, Council ships are entering the system. I count 60. Vessels, all heavy cruisers. Ben nodded. He had expected this. New Kansas was a farming world with few defenses. The Council probably thought it would be an easy target. They were wrong, signaled the colonists, Ben said. Tell them to begin evacuation procedures for non-essential personnel. Sir, said Commander Frank Miller, Ben's second in command, the colonists are refusing to evacuate. They say this is their home and they're going to defend it. Ben smiled. That was exactly what he had hoped to hear. These people were not just farmers. They were humans who had chosen to build new lives far from Earth. They would not give up without a fight. On the surface of New Kansas, Colony Administrator Karen Price stood in the main square of New Hope, the planet's largest city. Around her, thousands of colonists had gathered. They carried farming tools, hunting rifles, and anything else they could use as weapons. Friends, Karen said, her voice carrying across the crowd, the Council ships are coming. They think we're just farmers who will run away when they arrive. Let's show them what human farmers can do, the crowd cheered. These people had faced droughts, alien wildlife, and pirate attacks. They had survived and built something beautiful on this world. They would not let the Council take it away. In space above the planet, the Council fleet moved into attack formation. Admiral Vexstar, a reptilian creature with scales like armor, commanded the fleet from his flagship. He had fought many battles for the Council, but always against species that surrendered quickly. Begin the bombardment of the farming settlements, he ordered. Show these humans what happens when they defy the Council. The first energy beams struck the planet's surface. They hit empty fields and abandoned buildings. The humans had moved all their important facilities underground or hidden them in the forests. Admiral, reported his tactical officer, the bombardment is having minimal effect. The humans seem to have prepared for this attack. Vexstar hissed in annoyance. Then we will land troops and take the planet by force. Ready the assault ships? But as the Council ships prepared to land, something unexpected happened. The asteroid field near the planet began to move. What the Council had thought were simple rocks were actually hidden weapons platforms. Captain Walsh watched from the Yorktown as the hidden defenses came online. Fire all weapons, he ordered. Energy beams and missiles shot out from the disguised asteroids. The Council ships were caught completely by surprise. 3 of their vessels exploded before they could react. Impossible, Admiral Vexstar said as his ship shook from weapons fire. The intelligence report said this world had no significant defenses. The intelligence was wrong, his tactical officer replied. The humans have been preparing for this attack. On the planet's surface, the Council landing ships began to descend. But as they approached the ground, they faced something they had never encountered before. The farmers of New Kansas had turned their entire world into a fortress, hidden missile. Launchers rose from the wheat fields. Defensive positions that looked like farm buildings revealed their true purpose. Even the farm animals had been moved to safety, replaced by automated weapon systems. Council Marines, expecting to fight frightened farmers, instead found themselves facing determined soldiers who knew every inch of their territory, the humans. Use the forest, the rivers, and even the underground root cellars as weapons in their fight. Sergeant Rick Davis led a group of colonists in an attack on a council landing site. They moved through the cornfields like ghosts, striking fast and then disappearing before the aliens could respond. Remember, Rick told his people, we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to make them pay for every inch of our world. The battle raged for hours. The council forces had superior numbers and weapons, but the humans had something more important. They were fighting for their homes, their families, and their freedom. As the sun began to set, Admiral Vextar received a report that made his blood run cold. Half of his fleet had been destroyed or damaged. His ground forces were trapped in scattered positions across the planet, and the humans showed no signs of surrendering. Admiral, his communications officer said, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. Karen Price's face appeared on the screen. She was covered in dirt, and there was blood on her clothes, but her eyes were bright with determination. Council, Admiral, she said, I want you to know something. We haven't even started fighting yet. This is just the beginning. Surrender now, Vextar demanded, and we will show mercy to your people. Karen laughed, and the sound sent chills through the alien crew. Mercy? From the people who came to destroy our homes? No, thank you. We'll take our chances with freedom. The transmission ended. Vextar stared at the blank screen. In all his years of service, he had never faced an enemy like this. These humans seemed to prefer death to surrender. Admiral, his tactical officer said, we're receiving similar reports from other systems. Human colonies across the galaxy are resisting our forces. They're all fighting like this. Vextar felt something he had never experienced before, fear. The Council had expected to fight a military. Instead, they were at war with an entire species that refused to be conquered on New Kansas. The battle continued through the night. The humans fought with everything they had. They used their knowledge of the land, their determination to remain free, and their willingness to die for their beliefs. But most importantly, they fought with the knowledge that they were not alone. Across the galaxy, millions of other humans were fighting the same battle. They were all part of something bigger than themselves. As dawn broke over New Kansas, the message that would change the galaxy began to broadcast from every human world. President Brooks' voice carried across the stars with calm determination. To all free peoples of the galaxy, she said, humanity stands ready to defend not just our own liberty, but yours as well. The Council's age of tyranny is ending. We invite you to join us in the cause of freedom. The war for freedom had begun. 6 months after the first battle on New Kansas, the galaxy had changed. The war that the Council expected to end in days had spread to hundreds of worlds. Every human colony fought back with a fury that shocked the alien empires. Admiral Paul Harrison stood in the command center of Earth's orbital fortress. Around him, screens showed battles happening across human space. The news was mixed. Some colonies had fallen to overwhelming Council forces. Others had fought off attacks that should have destroyed them. Admiral, said Captain Nancy Foster, we're getting reports from the Centauri system. The Council is massing their main fleet there. Intelligence says they're preparing for a final assault. Harrison nodded. He had expected this. The Council was getting desperate. Their easy conquest had turned into a bloody war that was costing them ships and soldiers they could not replace. How many ships? He asked. Over 800, Nancy replied. Everything they have left. Harrison looked at his own fleet count. 300 human ships, many of them damaged from previous battles. The odds were terrible, but that had never stopped humans before. Send word to all human fleets, he said. We're going to Centauri. It's time to end this war. On the Council. Flagship Zethkara sat in her command chair like a spider in a web. Her many eyes watched the tactical displays with growing frustration. What should have been a simple police action had become a nightmare. Council Speaker, said Admiral Vextar, his scales scarred from his defeat at New Kansas, the human fleet is approaching. They're heavily outnumbered, but they're still coming. Of course they are, Zethkara hissed. These humans are too stupid to know when they're beaten. We will crush them here and end this rebellion once and for all. But as the two fleets approached each other, something unexpected happened. Ships began appearing from other parts of the galaxy. Not human ships, but vessels from species that had been part of the Council Empire. The first to arrive were the Kepler Confederation ships. The tree-like aliens had been quiet allies of humanity, providing supplies and information. Now they were openly joining the fight. Council Speaker, the communications officer reported, we're receiving a message from the Kepler fleet. They're demanding that we withdraw from human space. Zethkara's mandibles clicked with rage. Impossible. The Kepler species knows their place. They would never dare challenge the Council. But more ships kept arriving. The Tau Ceti Alliance, the Rigel Trade Union, even some of the smaller mining species that had been ignored by the Council for centuries. They all came to fight alongside the humans on the human flagship. Admiral Harrison watched the alien ships take positions around his fleet. He had hoped for this, but seeing it happen still amazed him. Admiral, said his communications officer, we're receiving a message from the Kepler commander. He says his people are tired of Council rule and ready to fight for freedom. Harrison smiled. Tell him he's welcome to join us. Today we're all fighting for the same thing. The battle that followed became known as the Battle of Centauri Gate. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. Ships from dozens of species fought side by side against the Council's forces. The humans led the charge, their ships moving with the desperate courage of people who had nothing left to lose. Behind them came their new allies, species that had found the strength to fight back after watching humanity's example. Colonel Steve Parker led a boarding party onto the Council flagship. His Marines fought through corridors filled with aliens who had never faced humans in close combat. The Council soldiers were strong and well-armed, but they had never fought an enemy that seemed to welcome death if it meant victory. Keep moving, Steve shouted to his men as they battled through the ship's corridors. We need to reach the command center. The fighting was brutal. Humans fell, but they kept advancing. For every human who died, 2 Council soldiers were defeated. The aliens had superior weapons and armor, but they lacked the desperate determination of people fighting for their freedom. On the bridge of the Council flagship, Zethkara watched her empire crumble. Her fleet was being destroyed by forces she had thought were weak and divided. Even worse, the rebellion was spreading to other parts of the galaxy. Council Speaker, her tactical officer reported, we're losing ships faster than we can replace them. The humans are fighting like madmen, and the other species are following their example. Then we will make them pay for their defiance, Zethkara said. Order all ships to target the human civilian centers. If we cannot rule them, we will destroy them. But before the order could be carried out, Steve Parker and his Marines burst onto the bridge. The battle was brief but decisive. The Council's command structure collapsed as their leaders were captured or killed. With their leadership gone, the Council fleet began to surrender. Ship after ship stopped fighting and waited for instructions from their captors. The war was over. But the real work was just beginning. 3 years later, Ambassador Jake Morrison stood in the same chamber where the Council had once ruled the galaxy. But now, instead of a few powerful species controlling everyone else, representatives from free worlds debated as equals. Dr. Lisa Carter, now serving as the first Secretary General of the Galactic Federation of Free Worlds, addressed the Assembly. The question before us, she said, is not whether we can maintain our freedom. We've proven that. The question is whether we can build something better than what came before. The former Council Speaker Zethkara sat in a prisoner's dock waiting for her trial. She had been forced to watch the dissolution of her empire and the birth of something new. In her cell, she finally understood what had defeated them. It was not human weapons or tactics. It was the simple, terrifying power of a people who refused to be ruled. And that power had spread to other species across the galaxy. Jake Morrison, now serving as Earth's representative to the new Federation, reflected on the cost of their victory. Millions had died in the war, human and alien alike. But from that sacrifice had emerged something unprecedented in galactic history. We told them we would rather die free than live as slaves, Jake said in his speech to the Federation Assembly. Today, we prove that free people working together can build something greater than any empire. The galaxy had learned a harsh lesson. Never threaten a species that values freedom above life itself. And humanity had learned that their greatest strength was not their technology or their military might, but their unwavering refusal to kneel before tyrants. The Council's final warning had been answered. The galaxy would never be the same. For the first time in 10,000 years, the stars belonged to a free people who chose their own destiny, and in the schools of 100 worlds, children learned the story of how humanity said no to tyranny and changed the galaxy forever.